For this final video in my series about taking better pictures of people, perfect portraits if you like, let's summarise what we've learnt in the past 6 videos, give you some suggestions for getting started, and also I'll talk you through a portrait session I had that was pretty hard to improve upon, probably one of the best I've ever done. So in really simple bullet point terms, here are what I think are the secrets to taking good portraits. First of all, have a really good idea what it is you want to photograph, what that concept is that you're trying to get across. Secondly, choose a subject to photograph who interests you. Now, of course, that may overlap quite a lot with your original idea, and the two may in fact be almost interchangeable. Next, really crucial this, communicate that idea and that concept very clearly to your subject. Then build on all those skills I've talked about in those 2 videos in the middle of the series about getting a good performance out of your subject, getting the very best out of them in that narrow window of time when you're taking their portrait. Give some thought to how your subject's going to pose. Don't always just leave it up to them, and be particularly aware of poses and positions that might make them very uncomfortable and very tense. And lastly, as I keep going on and on about in any video I talk about, get your technical stuff sorted out. Do pay attention to the technical side of things, but don't let it take over. The communication and the rapport between you and your subject is far more important than fussing over your lighting, your lens choice, your camera, etc, etc. So do all those things and I pretty much guarantee you'll start to take better portraits. One of the best ways to get started is in what I would consider a semi-formal, semi-professional environment. Now, a full professional environment would be somebody commissioning you and paying you to go out and take a portrait. That would be quite a stressful way to start. What I mean by a semi-formal, semi-professional environment is choosing to actually pay a professional or semi-professional model to be your subject, or going along to a course that somebody's organised. Whether it's somewhere like the Nikon School, who I run courses for from time to time, or a whole host of other places that do everything from vintage days to boudoir shoots to portraits in all sorts of different situations with all sorts of different people. What that will do is allow you to work with people who are confident and comfortable in front of the camera, so that takes a lot of the stress away from you. You'll also increase your chances if you do as much of the technical work beforehand as you can. So think through how you're going to light things and how your lights might work. Think through your camera settings and how your camera works and what lens choice you're going to use. So you're not spending lots of valuable time on the day breaking that rapport with your subject, mucking about with the technical stuff. Remember, above all, to photograph what interests you about the subject, which could be their character, their skill set, their environment they're in. It might be their looks. If your motivation for this portrait is, whoa, this person's really sexy, that's absolutely fine. Just make sure that comes through really clearly in the portrait you take. Now, as promised, I'm going to talk you through a portrait session I did, which was as close to perfect as it could possibly be. The only thing that could make this shoot better would have been being able to spend more time with the subject. Back in 2014, I was commissioned by Men's Fitness, who at the time one of my very regular clients, to photograph the actor, comedian, multi-talented person Terry Crews. Now, this was for a feature in a magazine. It's very common when somebody is promoting something, I think at the time he was promoting Expendables 2, that celebrities do media days, and there is a certain chunk of time, and a magazine might have this chunk of time, BBC News might have this chunk of time, and the celebrity will work their way through all these different groups and parties throughout the day, and each person will do something different with them. So Sky News might do an interview about this, we might do a different shoot, just a portrait shoot, whatever it might be. They're big media days, they're often quite a circus, and above all it can be quite difficult to get anything interesting out of your subject because of course they're going through the motions all day long. Now, we were told we would have 45 minutes with Terry. We were going to be in a gym in central London. That was our location. We couldn't change that. We couldn't ask to be anywhere else. The gym was underground, so I obviously took all my own lighting with me to make sure that I could light things well and not just rely on the existing light in the gym. And we did lots and lots of preparation, knowing that we only had this 45-minute window to work with. I worked out pretty much how I wanted to light things, although of course I couldn't be 100% certain about that until I knew exactly which spots we would have to use in the gym. We worked out lots and lots of shots, but only once we worked out the initial concept. And myself and the art director of the magazine came up with this very simple concept of action Terry versus comedy Terry, because he was known at that point for being, an action hero in films like The Expendables, but also having a great comic talent as well. So we had these two characters sort of counterpoint to each other. We would have the idea that Action Terry would be full of it and really powerful and in the gym and full of energy and dynamism, and Comedy Terry would be cringing away from Action Terry, would be embarrassed and hiding. And when we explained this concept to Terry, thankfully, he absolutely lapped it up. Now, that, of course, there's a certain amount of luck with something like that. You can come up with a brilliant concept, and you may be unlucky, and on the day, your subject just goes, no, not interested. If that happens, always have a plan B. Now, we did have a plan B. It was nowhere near as interesting, so I won't go into it. But plan A worked. We then proceeded in the 45-minute window we had to shoot several different scenarios of Action Terry versus Comedy Terry. He, as you can see in this shot, he cringed and hid himself and then tore the muscle vest apart with Action Terry. He fought himself in the ring. He went at the punch bag, but then the punch bag got back at him when it was Comedy Terry. And we were able to set up all these scenarios, and in some cases, just very simple photoshopping afterwards puts two of him in the same frame. Sometimes it's two frames side by side. Throughout the whole thing, we kept this concept to the front, this performance that we wanted. Now, of course, Terry is an accomplished actor, but we kept returning to this over and over again. Now, he was brilliant. He picked up on it, he ran with it, and so directing him wasn't very difficult at all. All I would do occasionally would be nudge almost, just a little suggestion here, suggestion there, or tell him precisely where to be. And then once we'd explained this concept clearly enough, he was talented enough to just run with it. And we got some absolutely, if I say so myself, wonderful shots. He was a fantastic subject to work with. I can't reiterate that enough. We were in fact finished with enough time left to shoot 5 quick, punchy little videos, which he did just off the cuff with no script. He's that good. Okay. On a technical side, like I said, I had planned everything pretty much before we'd even started. I kept the equipment fairly simple. I think I used 3 lights, my 3 Pro Photo lights, 1 or 2 lenses on the camera. I had an assistant helping me on the day, as well as an art director to help with make sure we were staying on the right track. But I didn't let the technical stuff slow me down. You can imagine with a window of time as small as that, and lots to get, because of course we're illustrating an entire magazine feature, you can't get caught up in the various technical aspects. The technical side needs to be almost invisible. It's just there to help you get the shot. So as I say, that was a nearly perfect shoot. The only thing I could improve about it would have been wonderful to have more time with Terry and a bit more space to breathe rather than just 45 minutes. And that really, for me, is the essence of what makes portraits so enjoyable, so endlessly fascinating, and something that I still love, nearly 30 years after I first picked up a camera. It's about that interaction with another human being, about that performance, about that rapport, about that connection, but also the fact that you get to take away something tangible at the end of it that you have both created. I hope these videos help you take better portraits, hope they've inspired you, given you some good ideas. As always, it's YouTube, so hit like if you like it, subscribe to the channel, get notifications turned on, whatever it is you have to do these days. Please stick any questions you've got in the comments below. Let me know what sort of videos you want to see and I'll try and deliver them. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.